Hi, I'm Ricky Fort and welcome to the Real Estate 101 podcast. Join me as I lift the lid on the real estate industry and share some great stories from behind the scenes. Like and subscribe and enjoy this episode. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Real Estate 101 with your host, Ricky Fort from Geelong Real Estate Co. Very excited to announce Geelong Real Estate Co's newest recruit, Michaela Miller. Welcome.
Wow, thank you. Honour, privilege.
Well, I hear it's not, because I hear you've been on a few potties before.
Oh, I've been on one other.
What was the other one?
It was when the Times News Group used to do My Coastal Home.
Yep.
That was back 2020. I did it with my old boss and, just kind of talked a bit of
So who was
smack.
the host?
It was Kylie Oliver.
Yep.
And, I can't remember the
And
other
so
guy's
on
name.
like a particular home sort of thing?
No, just like talking about real estate.
Yeah.
So we just like spoke about kind of like what we did and a bit about the market at that time and our story.
So there's a nickname around not a nickname, but you obviously are the most photogenic person in our office, and it's very frustrating for everyone else. We just had our new portraits the other day with your girl Pam.
Yeah. Love Pam.
She's a
legend.
She's a good egg. Do you want to give a shout out to her business? What's her business called?
I'm pretty sure it's just Pam Hutchison Photography.
So good.
If it's not, I apologise, but you can literally just Google Pam Hutchison. She'll come up.
We'll put a link to her in the show. So, mate, just a bit of a background on you. So tell us where you grew up, where you went to school, that sort of stuff.
I am Geelong gal, northern suburb. So I grew up in Norlane, Corio, and then Bell Park as I was a teenager.
Moved around or?
Like a little bit.
Yeah.
But lived with my mum until I was about 11, 12 and then moved in with my dad. He was in Bell Park.
Yeah.
And then did split. So then was kind of back and forth over the two houses. So I went to primary school at Norlane West, which is now Northern Bay Secondary or whatever not secondary, primary. And then went to high school at North Geelong.
Yep.
On Sevo.
Cool. On
Sevo.
You're a classic. You shorten everything down. You are a quintessential Australian. It's good. I like it. Tell us about so after school, what's your first job?
When I was in school, I had jobs.
Yep.
So my first ever job was Rivers.
Rivers?
Yeah, the clothing store.
Yeah. In town?
So I was always just so desperate to work. I wanted money.
Yeah.
So we had a family friend who managed the one in Spencer Street, Melbourne.
Oh.
At the train station,
Yeah.
Southern Cross at DFO. So I would go up there every Saturday.
At how old?
15.
Wow.
So I'd catch the train from North Geelong to Spencer Street and then would do an 8-hour shift and then would come back. I did that for maybe a year, and then when I went into year 12 maybe, I then transferred to the Geelong one because they had an opening.
Yeah.
And then I did the transfer. So I worked at Rivers and then I went to Baker's Delight and Subway. So I did that.
Yep.
Loved them. So much fun.
Which stores were you in?
Subway, I was North Geelong, cross the road from Ford.
Yep.
Was there for about 4 years. Baker's Delight, Corio Village.
Try and pigeonhole me. If I was going to order a Subway, what would I get?
It'd be a foot-long Italian herbs and cheese.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. With, I don't know, steak or meatballs.
Oh.
No. What is it?
I'm not. Meatballs okay. Otherwise, it's a chicken teriyaki.
Oh,
obviously. And then
I
what
thought
salad?
you were more cultured. That is so basic.
Or maybe even schnitzel.
Yeah.
And what salad?
Lettuce, tomato, carrot, cucumber. You'd get everything. You'd like jalapenos. Maybe everything. No, I reckon you'd get everything.
No jalapenos, no cucumber.
Oh, cucumber's a bit of a waste.
What sauce?
Sweet onion if you're getting teriyaki.
Yes.
There's no other. I love Subway.
And then obviously 2 M&M cookies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the raspberry choc. That is. So when I was working at Subway, when I was working at Baker's Delight, I put on so much weight because if you open, you get to do all the merchandising to make it all look pretty. Ooh, a lot of times I'd be something dropped on the floor.
Oops.
I'll have to eat that. Which was, so much fun. And then from there, my first proper full-time job was at Big 4 Bellarine.
Yes.
That is a vibe of a job.
Yeah,
it was
would be.
I just got it too early. So when I left there to go into real estate, my boss, so the owner of the park, they own Bellarine, they own Big 4 Anglesey.
Yep.
And I basically said to him, I'm like, I love this job. I'm just too young for it. If
Yeah.
I was in my 50s.
Perfect.
Like,
maybe we can go back to it. I'll reserve me this spot. I'll be back.
It's that or Aldi. I just want to work at Aldi when I retire.
Why? What do you like about Aldi?
Because it's just like you just sit there and talk.
I only recently discovered Aldi, and it's wild.
Oh, Aldi is
it's wild.
The bomb.
It's wild.
Bomb.com.
You just buy like a smoke machine or something from the office. Very random. Very random. Go in for your staples, come out with something like some skis or something.
Always. Like, you're just like leaving with stuff. And every time I go, Doug's like, you've got to look for these. I think they're called counter sinks. I don't even know what they are. No. Something that, I don't know. And he's like, they're always in the special buys. So every time there, I'm like, okay, I have to look for these things. I don't even really know what I'm looking for. Right. But they are wild. So
tell us about real estate. What got you into it?
I always liked it. And I think that's so cliche. Like, everyone, you talk to, I don't know, someone walking the dog and they're like, yeah, I love real estate. Like, I've got such an interest in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, always really liked it. And then back in like end of 2017, so I did my agent's rep in 2017, just in preparation. So I didn't have a job to go to. I did it. And then started 2018. Doug and I had bought our first property back in 2014. We needed to sell that property, or we wanted to sell it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Where was that property?
43 Whitcombs Road, Clifton Springs.
Yep.
To be very precise.
Yeah.
It was the cheapest home on the Bellarine at the time. That was in the title. So on realestate.com, the title said cheapest home on the Bellarine. That was March 2014.
So that's how you bought it?
Yep.
Yeah. So do you remember who you bought it through?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they still around?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Not a great experience.
Okay. Yeah.
But.
Why? What happened?
Just kind of felt as though they took us for a bit of a ride because I was 19.
Yeah.
I was a child.
Yeah.
And they just really kind of honed in on that. And it was probably a little bit of a moment where I was like, oh, that was awful, but it was okay because it still worked out for us. And at that point I was like, I want to get into real estate because I don't want that to happen to people.
Yeah.
I don't want first home buyers to feel as though that they're dealing with, an agent that's just not a good person.
Yeah.
And that they're not having a good experience. She didn't let us put the sold sticker up.
Yeah.
So she did it and didn't even ask us.
Yeah, that's average.
And it's so trivial, but not really at that
Such a special
moment.
Special part in people's lives. Yeah.
And I was just like, this is the best thing ever.
Mm.
So, yeah. When we needed to sell that, so we had then bought another property. We were living there. This was vacant, needed to sell. And, basically had one agent in mind. So I was like, I know who we're going to sell it through. And Doug's like, we should get 3 quotes. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, I knew exactly who it was. Got her over. She sold it. The moment we went unconditional, I said, hey, can I catch up with you? And she was like, she was fretting. She's like, thought that something bad had happened. And I was like, yep, I want to get into real estate. Would you give me a job?
Yeah.
That was it.
That's so funny. It's pretty much exactly how I got into it as well. But like he asked me, but it was Dylan Taggart from Buxton sold my house in Leopold.
Yeah.
And same thing. Mine was, I didn't have that bad experience you'd had previously, but I just had a really good experience with him. And but I think it was just more the cliche thing of like, this is how much you can earn and that sort of stuff. And it was a bit more like cheesy now when I think about it. But I was obviously attracted to it from the financial perspective and like working for yourself and setting your own hours and things like that. Yeah, the freedom.
To a degree, like the unstructured, like you structure your own day.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like it has a lot of freedom and flexibility, but at the same time, it will take every minute of every day that it will give to you. Like Friday's your day off, and here you are. So I appreciate that. And you're a good egg. Thanks to Doug. Yes, and then tell us about your early days in your career. Like what tasks and that are you doing? Like when you say I love real estate, and then you get into it. What is So how old were you when you started?
24.
So what's a 24-year-old Michaela doing on week 1?
Literally dropping and doing nothing else.
So putting crap in people's letterboxes. And
if you live in Clifton Springs, if you
tell me,
but if you tell me your address, I'll tell you your letterbox.
Yeah.
I got into it and I knew. So I think a lot of people get into it and they think it's going to be fancy from the start. So they're going to be like,
$1 million listing New York.
Absolutely. And it's just like, no, not like that. And I knew that. Absolutely. Like I knew what I was getting myself into.
Yeah. Is that because you took it upon yourself to find out, or you're just more take as it come? Like, or the agent you went to work for really articulated it well? Like how do you think you
I
knew
think
what you
I
were getting into?
just did research. So I just knew that it was just going to be prospecting.
Yeah.
And Grace, like my boss, had said, you're just going to be prospecting. That's your job. So me being a PA to her, so I was a PA for 2 years under her, and it wasn't that stereotypical, like I'm not going getting coffees. I'm not doing her dry cleaning. I'm there to find her new clients.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for 2 years.
That's so interesting. And there's definitely a stigma, and other companies do it better than others. But I feel like that entry level position into real estate, if that's all it is just, doing letterbox drops and being someone else's gopher or just prospecting's the hardest job ever, I think, in real estate. And I'm not surprised that the dropout rate is so high.
It's so
I'm surprised
tough.
you enjoyed it, and you obviously I know you, and it's not a surprise that you stuck it out, but it's impressive that you can get through that time.
Yeah, and I think that I got through it because of the support.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that people come into real estate and it's really hard, and 8 times out of 10 they don't have the support from who they're working.
When you say the support, like what does that look like? Is it positive reinforcement? Is it like constant reminders of what the end goal is, or what is it?
So really just the support of having someone at the end of the day for me to be like, oh yeah, I did 21. Like I remember my first week, the Friday, I did 21 Ks of drops, and it was like Clifton Springs is hilly. Like you are up and down. There's no footpaths. So
you're just working off that baker's delight.
All those finger buns are just like
years of burning off the finger buns. Yeah.
So and just being able to have a team around you to just say that this is a bit shit.
Yeah.
But it's the end goal. So when I got in, Grace was like, cool, write off the next 3 years of your life. And that's the thing, is that for the first 2 years, I seen Grace and the people I worked at the office more than Doug.
Yeah.
This was before I had kids. I would work every single day. Thursday was my day away.
Yeah.
But you're still on the phone, you're still on emails. If something's going wrong, you're still getting a call.
Yeah.
I sold my soul to the job, essentially.
Yeah. It's pretty rare, actually, that people give it their all. And it's so funny because real estate has this really like a stigma that obviously, we're bottom feeders, and that it's, it's a really easy paying job and that sort of thing. And I guess, you've had good exposure, good and bad, but there's certainly, like, it's not unfounded why people feel the way they feel about some people in our industry. But hearing you say that, because that's what it takes to make it. Like, unless you're gifted that you grew up and everyone and you've got some type of celebrity, it's very rare. Like, the percentage of people that make it that are just popular and is like 1%. The rest is just,
hard work,
sacrifice.
Yeah.
So how was your relationship with your partner in that during that time? Like, because obviously the other hard part about it's fine if it's really demanding on your time and that sort of stuff, if it's financial. Like if you're making X and you're doing super well, like it's fine. But
it alleviates
obviously,
a bit of the pressure.
Yeah, and it makes it worthwhile. But when you're essentially a PA and you're potentially not making a stack.
It's it was okay for us because I'm lucky, like Doug and I have been together forever, and he was so incredibly supportive, and I'd quite literally said, hey, this is what it looks like. So I wasn't blinded going into it. It was going to be 6-7 days a week, 12-hour days. Like if I was home before 6:37 and I lived 10 minutes away from the office, and I'd be up at 5, I'd be dropping in the dark at 5:15 before my day would really start. So it was tough, but I think that you then get to a point where you then just got to have those little boundaries to basically, and again, like Grace respected that as well, to basically say, hey, I'm going to do my opens on Sunday, I'm going to finish at 2, and then that's it. Like unless there's a house on fire or, someone's like, hey, I'm listing my property right now, but it's like I need just those little bits. But before kids, you've got so much time. So even though you might be working 12-hour days and Doug was working heaps and whatever, but you still have time. You've just got to make the time. And I think people don't put in the effort to make it. It's easier for people to say, this is too hard. I'm not going to do it, or with their marriage or relationship think, oh, yeah, nah, it's just too much. But you've actively got to work on it. You've got to be like, well, hey, this is what the job is. I'm okay with it. Are you okay with it? Yes. Just check in with each other.
Yeah.
Make sure you're on the same page.
I think that work ethic you've got's not even in the 1%. I think it's in the point something percent. It's a pretty sick. I used to be the same. I remember I got back into my office and I was dripping wet and I had the umbrella and my boss was like, "You've been dropping in the rain." And guys I used to work with that were like PAs and stuff alongside me or were really new into the industry used to say to me like, "Why do you work so hard? Like the money, especially when you're a PA, like the money goes to somebody else.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's not your income. You know what I mean? Like,
Wrong way
I
to
didn't
look
even.
at it.
Yeah, I agree, but that's the reality.
Yeah.
That like that money goes to someone else, and I guess I just knew in my mind, like you did, that one day you flip that switch and that income, that reward for effort.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Is yours. Like even I guess one of the hard things psychologically was when you were doing so well, and it depends on who you work for and that sort of thing, but not even getting the recognition. Like the sold sticker that goes up has someone else's face on it, or the reviews online refer to the lead agent when you were essentially the one that did like a lot of the work.
Yeah.
So it's really hard, and it's no surprise why it spits out so many people. I'm sure you're the same, but I've had so many like friends and that reach out to me that their kids or their wife or like someone they know is thinking about getting into real estate, and they're like, can I set a time up for you to talk to them? And like without being, talking people out of it, I try and just be really real and be like, just so you know, it's like a point something percent of people that can do it. You got to be prepared to live on crap money for so long, and you've got to I really explain it like being an apprentice or whatever. Like if you're going to be a plumber, like there's plumbers out there making $150, whatever, but they didn't just put that out in the yellow pages and start doing that. Doug's obviously got his business and he's a boilermaker. It's a really physical trade, and like you don't just turn on income like overnight. Like it takes years and years and years of earning it, I guess.
Commitment.
Yeah, commitment. So I guess tell us then about the next step. So you go from being a PA, like when's the time when you're like, I've cut my teeth, I'm ready?
So I probably got to a point where Grace and I would go into listing presentations and I'd want to talk over her.
Yeah.
And I know like we talk about it all the time because it's kind of funny, but I would want to say more.
Yeah.
I'd want to have an opinion more with the clients, and I'd want to, really put my thoughts forward. Yep. The moment I got to that point, I was like, okay, cool. I reckon I'm now ready. And they had always set the like that goal that it was basically going to be April, like the next April. That's when I was going to go out on my own. So, I got everything into motion. So, April 2020, I went out on my own. And if anyone's good at, remembering what happened in April 2020, we were in a full lockdown.
Yeah.
So, that was really tough. I went out on my own as a full sales agent in the middle of our first lockdown.
Yeah.
Which is bloody tough.
Yeah.
But, you're kind of all in the same boat with every other agent. It's just a little bit harder. And I have realistic expectations in terms of how many listings, how many sales, the money that I'd be making. Did that, for the rest of 2020, then into 2021. And then at this January 2021, I found out I was pregnant. So then, kind of changed a little bit as well.
Yeah, you had a really disrupted start, obviously.
I haven't actually probably had a clear 6 months.
Yeah.
Either being pregnant or having a newborn. I got a bit of a gap there, and then I was pregnant again and then have another newborn. So, I thrive off chaos, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, it's impressive. And I think the fact that you stayed, you've still got that same level, because a lot of people have got that sick drive, like get up at 5 a.m. or whatever, but it's not sustainable and it's for a really short period of time. Like me with my running, I did bloody 20 Ks in 20 days. Like I'd never ran before, and then I did a half marathon in 20 days, but then I've hurt my leg, and it's like I've realized, it's hard to stay motivated and performing at a super high level for a really long time. And I think when you throw kids into the mix, it's just super impressive that you've still got that same level, like that sick level of wanting to perform. It's super impressive.
Thank you.
So tell us about when things started to work out for you and you started to get a little bit of, performance and things behind you. What is that?
So it started probably when I had gone out on my own, and, you know, you then start to get the purchases. So when you're a PA, predominantly I deal with the purchases.
Yep.
And I remember at the old company I was at, one of the old directors, she's not there anymore, and she had said to me, she was like, keep working with the purchasers because purchasers become sellers. And I was like, yeah, cool. Like, they're probably never going to sell. And that's what happened. Had like a few people that would, you know, had purchased a property through Grace and myself, and then I dealt with them. So then they needed to sell and they'd come to me. And then even some clients that Grace and I had worked with to sell, they then needed to sell again and they'd come to me. And the amount of prospecting that I would do with my drops, and I would just bleed everything dry. Every listing, just absolutely letting everyone know, every sale, anytime I had an offer on a property. So that, yeah, it just started to flow on that little bit. Where, especially on the Bellarine, like Clifton Springs, Drysdale, it's that smaller community. And yeah, the phone just started to ring a little bit more.
Yeah.
For me to, yeah, like be in that position where it just started to feel like, oh, okay, you can see all the hard work I've put in for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Is slowly, because it's literally like 3 to 5 years before your phone rings.
How many times, I'd be surprised if you said none, but how often were you like, did you ever feel like maybe you'd made a mistake or maybe it wasn't? No, you always knew.
Yeah. Like,
what about some low moments? Obviously COVID would have been scary. I remember when that first lockdown happened, we just opened the business. And I remember in the first 6 weeks we were locked down for 4 and then we flooded the week after that. And I was like, fuck, it was hard. All right, so no real moments of like panic or anything for you. What about, I guess, on the other end, things going super well, like you've listed 2 in a week or you've sold 2 in a week? Like, what's the best kind of milestone and feelings that you can remember?
I feel as though that there was a time, it was end of 2020, so I'd been out on my own for, let's say, like 6 months, and I had, I got a listing from old clients of ours. They came back to me, I sold it. Again, in the middle of lockdown, and then I did what I call my holy grail under offer drop, and then I got 3 call-ins and listed them all.
Wow.
And that was the time where I was like, this is like, the fact that I can go into someone's home and meet someone and then they trust me to sell their property is still baffling. Like, just because it's just like, wow, like, I'm a great agent. Yeah. And I know what I'm doing and I am bloody good at my job.
Yeah.
But it's still so surreal to be able to meet people for the first time and they are just like, yep, I trust you.
Yeah.
And that's just such a compliment. You know, it's amazing.
We started talking the other day in our office about, I'm not sure if you remember, but like the avatar and who your customer is.
Yeah.
And after a while, it becomes not a surprise because I feel like I'm really good. I'll sit down and I'll know whether they're my customer within like 5 seconds. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not, for some people, it's not about how much, you know, they're going to pay you or like they won't argue with anything. And it's like, this is my customer. It's like, well, I don't need to sell myself. I just need to be like an advisor. I'm here to like be your partner. I'm here to like, it's you and me against the market. Like, let's go and see what we can do. And it's, it's the sooner you become comfortable with yourself and it's that old real estate saying like that commission breath, you know, you're just desperate for the work and you just want every bit you can get your hands on, which is still good. Like we're all competitive, right? Like that's how we make it. But I feel like when you identify your customer and that trust just starts to build, like you've seen obviously what Jess has done in our office and she's so successful with like her marketplace because she's got her avatar customer dialed in. She knows like, you know, where they eat, where they shop, where they go to school, where they work. Like she knows, and it's just so much easier. Business starts to become easier. Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's funny that, you're talking about that and you're just remembering it like start to click for you.
Yeah.
I guess, and then obviously fast forward from 2020, I guess highlights in terms of, more volume, like what do you kind of judge success? Is it commission? Is it listing sold? Is it stock on the market? Is it market share? Is it?
Probably market share is a big one for me.
Yeah.
The money side of things, I've never really focused on it that much. It's like, if you... Excuse me, if you get, listings, you're going to get sales. And if you're a good person and a good agent, it's going to come.
Yeah.
It's more so just like getting that little bit more, getting referrals.
So what do you like about market share? Is it that things start to get easier, or is it?
I don't think it's easier. I think it's just, you get market share and you can literally walk into someone's lounge room and be like, yep, absolutely, I've got more
credibility.
Absolutely. Because it's really hard going in somewhere and you don't really know. And at the end of the day, like we're agents, like I can go into any home and I'm like, yeah, cool, I know how to sell this.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because it's not a geographical skill set. You're right. Like you're doing a bit of a career reset in the moment. Like you're no longer living on the Bellarine, and we've got a new target market and that for you, and a new avatar customer, and it's exciting that next chapter.
But it's just been a bit of a wild ride. It feels like for I'm 6 years in the industry now, and it's just like looking back on the 6 years, it's just
it feels like now's the time though. Like your life's started to settle down and the kids are in a bit more of a routine. I'd be interested to see if any more surprises or kids come along the way. But I think starting at a new brand with a new location. Yeah. I guess, what does success look like for you here now?
I think that just slowly, and again, so many of my clients are scattered everywhere around Geelong, which I like because I think I'd get I don't like the idea of just selling the same type of property.
Yeah, cabin fever, doing the same thing over it.
So I enjoy that. And success really for me is having the freedom. So whenever I think of success or what I want my life, my personal life, my career, anything else to look like, freedom is always that word that comes to mind, whether it be financial freedom, whether it be freedom to be able to, kind of structure my day and everything else. That's success. Like working your absolute ass off, which I do, but then being able to go home to a degree, and I'm a lot better at it now, and switching off and literally being like, hey, no phones in the lounge room when I get home because I'm trying to, just really be present with the boys until.
How old are the boys?
Lonnie's 6-7 months and Rafi's almost 2.5.
Yeah.
So fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh. But just we knew that we wanted at least 2, so we're like, let's just, I'm not 30 yet, so I'm just like, I've plenty of time, just get it done.
I guess for the brand and that sort of stuff, like not looking for an ego stroke or whatever, but just keen to hear maybe and for you to share with Geelong Real Estate Co. Why now? Why us? Why now? Yeah.
I think it was always, and now looking back, I think it's funny. I think it was always going to be you guys, if you would have me, of course. Purely just because, the start of 2023, the office that I started my career at, they ended up closing it. So they closed the office down on the Bellarine. And then
is that before you moved? You personally moved?
No. So we had moved about a year or so prior. So I was doing the commute from.
I'm surprised you maintained that even. It's adding 2 hours.
Yeah, a lot of travel. My loyalty was always with Grace.
Yeah.
And I'd always said that to her, But then I also had said, okay, I can't do this forever. Yeah. And it just happened that she ended up moving on and they closed down that office. I then got relocated to the Armstrong Creek office. Yep. And at this time when that was happening, I was about 5 months pregnant with Lonnie. So I went out there, I became the officer in effective control there and had, one other salesperson kind of not under me, but with me. Yeah. That was really tough. That was really, really hard. And looking back on it now, it just blows my mind that I actually got through it. Yeah. Trying to get market share in a new area, new office.
And it's not even by choice.
Yeah. It was, they had said to me, well, what is it? And I'm like, okay, well, out of all the options, that's the one that makes the most sense. But it probably got to when I had Lonnie. So Lonnie was born in the July and I was like, I can't do this. And not that I can't, I don't want to. I'd lost a few people that I'd had worked with and just was really missing for me that support. Yep. And I needed to be somewhere more central. And I remember saying to Doug in August, I was like, I've got to make a move at some point and I reckon it's going to be Geelong Real Estate Co. And Doug was like,
who?
Was just like, okay. Right. And I was like, Ricky's there, he has it. And, obviously I'd known of you just from the industry and whatever. Yeah. And I was like, Jess Templeton's there. And I'm like, she's now doing amazing things. And it's probably a brand where I was drawn to the brand that you had made.
Yeah.
And then over the next couple of months, I was just like, okay, like, you know, keeping tabs. And then, it kind of all just happened.
It's such a weird, like, courting process between, like, because I'm really protective of the brand, and obviously had people reach out that, you know, they're not here, obviously. And it's just because it's a people thing.
Yeah.
You know? And you want to bring in such a small team, like, and we're in 120 square meters, like the office is tiny. We need to be similar. We need to get along. We need to have a similar customer. We need to have a similar avatar. We need to, like, think the same, have the same sick work ethic. And it's like you, me and Jess, like, essentially we're all the same.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a carbon, you know, different hair, like, like it's the same person. So I guess when you and Jess, like, kind of started talking, and I know, like, you're a big fan of Jess's and vice versa, it just, it's weird how it happens, isn't it? Like,
I think I just kind of manifested it to happen.
Yeah.
And then when you reached out, I was just like,
well,
no,
we're here now.
Way. Like, I was just like, you know, and then.
I know Jess, like, it's so funny. We had the Facebook group chat going, and we were calling you Millhouse. Like, I'm like, we've been chatting to Millhouse, and the whole group, like, as I said, we're all invested. It's a small team, right? There's only 10 of us, but we're all in it for each other's success, and obviously they're a big part of, like, whoever comes in the team. And they were all we just felt like, you know, you're a mum, you're just everything that we are. Yeah. And it just felt right. And it was really exciting. And it was a special moment to announce that you were joining the team, because, like, you were a vet, like, 6 years and 6 years of grind, not like 6 years of giving.
I haven't been floating, just getting by.
Not 6 years of giving. Like, it's been all hard work and a lot of adversity, a lot of moving around. So I feel like, you know, Jess, you take COVID away, because I think COVID, people might look at their careers and, like, have a misaligned perception of how good they were in that time.
Anyone, like, I would say, I'd be like, if you're a butcher that worked at the end of the street, you could bloody sell a home.
Yeah, because I think it's pretty well documented. Like, we weren't really doing much, you know. We were, if you could, opening doors, putting your property online. Yeah. You know, I think I quote the great Ben Riddle, and he says, you know, like, you had a house, you were selling it for, you know, the vendor was worth $1. The vendor wanted $1.10. We were selling it for $1.30, and we were wrong every time, and it was always, everyone was overachieving. And, like, Jess and potentially yourself, like, had good periods in that time, but I wasn't really attracted or detracted from that. I didn't look too deeply into that. I just look at the person and I think, right, what's that person's work ethic like? How good are they going to be at, like, just following our system and our process? And I'm not too protective. Like, I'll let people do their own thing. But real estate's not hard, right? It's a simple business. Stay in touch with people, follow up with people, show a genuine interest in them, like, be there to help. Yeah. Like, essentially that's the job, right? And just, seeing someone that was like us that we could resonate with, guys, like I said, was super exciting. We pinching ourselves that you're here. So it's only been, obviously, what, two weeks?
Yeah, 2-3 weeks.
2-3 weeks.
Still fresh.
But it's exciting. We're G'd up. We've obviously got a couple of amazing listings coming up.
Yeah.
With you, so that's very exciting.
Yes.
So I guess from a new market, have you kind of not, you know, nailed down where you think you want to be geographically? Obviously, and where you're living and proximity and lifestyle.
Yeah. So I live out in Teesdale, which love it out there on a bit of land, but like, in time, again, a lot of my clients are still on the Bellarine and, like, Armstrong Creek and kind of everywhere. But in time, going just more like that western side of Geelong. So when you're looking at, you know, Teesdale, Bannockburn, I've got an unreal listing in Bannockburn at the moment, Batesford, Finesford, and just that kind of
that corridor.
side.
I think you'll be like any good real estate agent is not, like, it's great to have a farm or whatever you want to call it, a geographical area, but you'll always just have friends and family and they just call you wherever, and people you've sold for, and you don't have to be like and like you said before, you can walk into any house and know, I can sell this. It's not.
Because it's about people. So at the end of the day, like, you're not, like, when people walk through a property, if they don't like the property, you can't sell it to them. Yeah. Like, you can't.
Yeah, you can't.
You
hold
can't
a gun
force
to someone's
them.
head.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, when when you're in real estate, it's people first, property second.
Yeah.
If you can have a genuine connection with someone, whether that be a vendor or a buyer, you can sell something because it's like, okay, well, this is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what they want. You know what they don't want. Every house to a degree is the same. There's floors, there's a ceiling, there's a roof, there's walls.
Yeah.
It's just about working with those people to be putting them and showing them what they actually want and then not being an idiot about it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
It's simple.
It is really simple, and I think a lot of people just, don't think that it is. And it's like, again, if someone doesn't like a property, you could be the best salesperson in the world.
Can't make someone buy it.
You can't make someone buy the bloody house.
Yeah. Talk to us, I guess, obviously about goals for the year. Like, do you want to, like, where do you want to be? Do you want to, like, what's important to you? Obviously, you said it's not the money side of things, but is there a volume level you want to get to? Like, it's got a nice ring to it, sell one a week, or like, what do you have anything like that?
I think I'm quite realistic about what I can handle, just me.
Yeah.
And I got to that. So when last April, so I was 7 months pregnant with Lonnie, and I've never had an assistant or anything, and I had 15 properties on the market. Too much.
It's a lot.
Too much. Regardless whether you're pregnant or not. But at that point, like, I'd be going to opens and people would be like, "You all right?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, totally fine." 32 weeks pregnant. Yeah. Not my first rodeo. So I'm really, and I think that that's something where a lot of agents wouldn't do that, because I will cap what I take on to a degree. Because if I can't give 100% to every one of my clients, I'm not doing that. Yeah. So when it's still just me, it's definitely, if I'm hovering around that like 8 to 10 listings on the market, great. And then obviously, selling at my highest, I think I've sold like 30, 35 properties in a year, which seems to be, when you're looking on realestate.com for agents in Geelong, pretty average.
I would disagree there. I would think that's well above average. Above average. Yeah. I think, like, I heard a statistic recently, like, the average real estate agent in Australia is making 60,000 per annum. So there's there's this perception that, like, they're
people
all
are doing more,
making millions and that sort of thing. But I think that I think anything over 20 is you considered like an average, like an average to slightly above average, like 30.
Doesn't seem a lot though, does it? Like, when you think about it, like,
I think coming back to being on your own, like, obviously you've got support in the office and that sort of thing, but 35 on your own, it's a lot of open for inspections, it's a lot of building inspections, pest inspections, bank valuations, photo shoots. Like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot, right? And you have 30 people through per property, 30 times 35, like,
a lot of callbacks.
It's a lot of calls.
A lot of callbacks.
I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Nah, not at all.
I guess predictions for 2024 for the market?
I think it will just stabilise. I hope it's not going to do anything drastic. I just want some stability. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Just give us a little bit of stability. Like, we don't need to be going into properties that are then going to sell 150. Like, again, back in COVID, like, a few auctions that I was doing, my first ever auction campaign, 95.
Did you call the auction?
No.
Why not?
My anxiety, I was pregnant with Rafi at that time. So my anxiety for the auction campaign, like, I'm not a perfectionist, but the anxiety that I have with just wanting to do a good job for my vendors is sky high, which, like, is not great for me and, like, my well-being to a degree, but great for my vendors because they just know that everything's going to be triple, quadruple checked. Yeah. So no, I didn't call it. And I was just standing there looking out at a sea of people in Takana Avenue in Clifton Springs. Yeah. And it's like 95,000 over reserve. And I'm looking around just being like, is this real life?
God, can we have those times back, please?
Oh, but then in saying that, that brings its own challenges. And that's why, like, I sometimes prefer
those challenges.
Buyers, so when you're dealing with multiple offers, so not an auction but multiple offers, I am there with like an Excel spreadsheet, just being like, okay, like, where are we? And sometimes, not that that's harder, but that's the thing, is that when the market's really good, you then get those comments where it's like, you're not really doing much to sell a property. Yeah. And it's like, well, no, it's easier to sell. But instead of one buyer or maybe two, I'm dealing with 10 who want the same home. Their emotions are now on me, and that's really tough. So it brings its own challenges. So again, we don't
and then you've got people saying my offer's on the table till 5 o'clock and you've got 7 other people and it's like, how do I bring this together?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot more room for error.
And that's the thing is that I think that that's really hard in itself. And then, when you got a property on the market for 60 days and you're just like, cool, I've seen the neighbour a couple of times and absolutely no one else, and your vendor's a little bit unrealistic with price, that's obviously really tough as well. So we just need that stability, like just a little bit of stability. Just to,
interest rates, up, down, pauses, cuts?
I don't know, I think I was hopeful. I think everyone knew that February they weren't going to do anything. It was probably just going to hold, which it did. Maybe later on in the year, I just don't think they're going to do anything for a couple of months. Yeah, I reckon that they're just going to let it settle, see what happens. And so I was saying to some of my vendors, this time of year can sometimes be a little bit tricky because you're still settling into the year. So everything that we're talking about the market now was the market in 2023. What does the market in 2024
It is hard because a lot of customers rely on data and even the news to some degree. They're talking about the past and in it. In a changing weird market, it's a bit more reactive to what's happening today, and that helps when you got market share. I've got a little bit on the market in Geelong West at the moment, which is nice, but you can articulate a bit better if you're having 2 through an open for inspection, but your next house has got 9.
Yeah, you can kind of refer to something else.
And because a lot of customers might, they're hearing on the news that the market's a certain way, and that might not be how it is for them.
The news for everyone, the media in general, it's just they say one thing, then the next day they're saying something else, and you've got your vendors calling you, and it's let's just,
Lastly, I thought we'd finish on, obviously that's your little market prediction, but lastly, I thought we could finish on what advice you might have for guys or girls that are thinking about getting into real estate. Obviously, we've touched on you got to have a sick work ethic and that sort of stuff.
If you can't be told, if you're unteachable, don't even bother. If you have an ego that's sky high, don't bother. Because your first couple of years, whether you start as an assistant like I did or go straight in the sales team, you're at the bottom of the barrel. And you've got people basically, real estate is brutal. 9 times out of 10, it's brutal. So, going into the industry with an open mind and basically just accepting that you're going to be working with people and that they're going to be saying, maybe do this, do that. You need to be open to absolutely everything. And that's what I was. So I came in, nothing, and you just got to absorb absolutely everything. And I think that more so for women, you just got to do it. It's still such a man's world, especially in real estate, which is still quite hard, I think. You feel as though as a woman sometimes you can't win either way. I found that a little bit where I'm working, I've got a baby, you have clients that say, well, why aren't you at home with the baby? And then when I'm pregnant and I'm like, I'm going to get, my colleague to do it because I'm 38 weeks pregnant and I'm actually about to go into labour. Oh, well, can't you come?
Yeah.
And it's either way you can't win. You've just got to back yourself. You are your own worst critic, you're your own worst enemy. 9 times out of 10.
Time to be your own biggest supporter.
You're just back yourself, and it's you've just got to do it. We don't have an hour to waste in our lives. Life can change so quickly. You get one phone call, one message, and your whole life can change. You've got absolutely no idea what the future holds. And it's whether you're 30 or 55, and if you're I'm not liking what I'm doing, I need to do a change.
Yeah.
It's not too late until you're literally dead.
Yeah, it's good advice.
But it's true though. It's just you've just got to do it.
Going back to the women thing, I thought it was funny that so Reese Fiddler, our property manager, said the other day, we just had our new photos with Pam, obviously, which we spoke about before, but our office is essentially there's 10 of us and there's 3 or 4 males. So it's more the other way, in our office, which is nice. We do have a really strong female dynamic, and we're lucky that, we've got, I think, 2 of the best performing real estate agent females in Geelong. So it's really exciting to see the future for us in our business, and excited to see what you get up to this year, mate. So again, welcome to the team, and
thank you.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, and keep an eye out for Michaela Miller in 2024. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much.